Hey guys, welcome to Leave It on the Line. One of the perks of having this channel is I get the opportunity to talk to real people working in our industry. They get a chance to tell their story, where they've come from, where they've been, and what they've learned along the way. It's truly where we leave it on the line. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm so excited about today's guest, Jeffery Schlissel. He is from West Palm Beach. We met several years ago at an ACF convention, and you know what was funny about it is we've stayed in contact. Over the years, there's a few people that I've always kind of just kept my eye on, and he's been one of them. He's got all sorts of stuff to talk about. Doing a little bit of research. Not only that is he a member of ACF, but he's also a graduate from Johnson Wales University, North Miami, my alma mater as well. So we can talk about how that closing has something to, we can reminisce on all sorts of stuff. But without further ado, Chef, welcome. Leave it on the line.
Thank you very much, man. Salute.
My one beer for the evening.
Thanks for having me. It's just one of the, you talked earlier. Go ahead.
No.
Just beer?
Yeah. I'm just. I got to run tonight. I've signed up for a 30K this Saturday, so I'm trying to be sure that I don't overindulge before Saturday.
Okay, wait a minute. You said you signed up for a run?
Yeah.
Who's running after you?
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand you people that run for running, okay? All I have to do is run faster than the guy behind me. I have no idea why people run.
I know. I'm pretty sure that everybody that watches the show is like, okay, we get it. You run. Because that's all I talk about most of the time. Like, it definitely has become this weird obsession. My goal is to run a 50K before I'm 50.
Why?
So, I don't know. I came across people that did these ultra runnings, and I was like,
did you see the movies? Did Forrest Gump really affect your life that much?
That's yeah. Well, I mean, he's like a really awkward thing. Yeah, that guy affected my life. In fact, the guy that wrote it, his mother was my mom's English teacher. So yeah, there you go. That's the whole correlation right there.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Now we're going to go 6 degrees of separation. Wow.
And now I'm running. I'm running. There you go. But I'll probably have more than one. But anyway.
I'm running for Jenny. Wait, your wife's name's Gina, so it's close. I'm running for Gina.
Yeah, I'm running for Gina. We're like peas and carrots.
Right.
Yes.
That's what you're going to be for Halloween. You thought you're going to wrap yourself up in COVID toilet paper because we all know you're a hoarder. And you now know we're all going to dress up like Forrest Gump.
Hey, you know what? I think I could. I'll wear his, like, when he was playing ping pong. I'll carry a ping pong paddle with me. Oh, my God. How many people haven't seen that movie?
You just got to do that high and tight, bro.
Always high and tight. Never loose.
I don't think you're
low.
A person if you haven't.
High and tight,
okay.
Wearing my jeans.
All
anyway,
right.
We just went down typical chefs, right down you can tell that we get along really well. How long have you been in this biz?
Oh man, I mean, professionally, I was a type, man. I started out when I was 12 years old, went to my mom and said, Mom, I want to do this recipe. And, you hear a lot of guys, it's my grandmother, my grandfather, and gals that come inspired my mom, my dad. And this is truly one of them. My mom worked 5 days a week. She was a branch manager at a bank. And, I was in the stock market. And, it was just my sister and I. And she made sure that there was at least 5 to 6 days there was a meal on the table. And that last day was kind of like her day not to do anything. We got fat back in the day, but she was pretty much inspirational about giving me the palate. And then somebody asked me this just yesterday, what caused me to get into being a chef. I was like, my mom's mom and dad have watched me sometimes, and I would be sitting in this ancient high chair, right? This Jewish family, we're a bunch of hoarders, and we just, pass it down the generation. We say, oh my God, my grandmother gave that to me, because it's always a story. So it was like, I was 5 years old, but this thing was like every time, and it's hysterical. My mom and my aunt go, I sat on that when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm almost 50. I've heard that 5 million times. But they would sit there, and my grandfather would be making chicken parm and hush puppies with the leftover, and we're talking the best generation of them all, right? The guys and gals that survived the Great Depression, they stretched that dollar as much as they could. My grandfather, may rest his soul, didn't even go to high school. He was 8, 9 years old and went into the workforce, and but the guy was so well read, but he knew how to take things and create these masterpieces with food. And like I said, growing up Jewish, the problem is like, oh, Jewish food, Ashkenazic, it's mostly Slavic, it's mostly Russian. To you guys, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but sweetness is not this. This is very tart. I'm very, brash. I don't know what it is, but I got pushed away from it. But my grandfather somehow balanced so much. That's how I got started.
Now, did you grow?
Nurtured that.
Where'd you grow up? In what town? What city?
So I was born in North Cuba, also known as North Miami. Actually, you actually went to school there.
Yes. So
I was the first graduate of North Miami Beach, Johnson and Wales, which used to be North Miami General Hospital. So I was actually the first graduate that was born there.
So, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking awesome. And what year did you graduate, Jay Wu?
Jay Wu was 95, 96 that year. I was like in the third class in, but I did weekends.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I knew there was
I'm going to be the old Jew right now. I went to school Saturday and Sunday, 12 hours both days. And then I worked jobs uphill one way in sand in Florida.
Yes, you did. That I knew a couple of. I heard of the weekend classes. Like, I think I had to come in and help set up a couple of the labs for the weekend. But that was Monday through Thursday. But man, 135th Street, right?
I was working. Yeah. Yep, 100 off the 79th Street Causeway, 125th. You go in the hood, literally in the hood, and get over there, and boom, you hit this beautiful, right before Bal Harbor, right? And it's like gorgeous, and you don't expect that huge place to be there. And then they just announced 2 months ago?
Yeah, they closed it. I think it was. I saw it. Like, I always wanted to go back, and I always wanted to, talk to students and say, this is where I started, and, anything's possible, and kind of give that. And now it's gone. So, like, I feel like I have any roots anymore. Like most of the places that I worked.
It was funny. Obviously, I started a side gig from my previous job called the Bacon Cartel, and I got, I guess, in good rhythm with guys from Smithfield, and I get this call, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to judge this contest for the ACF and Johnson & Wales for Smithfield?" I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "We're pork." I'm like, "Yes, not a problem." It was held at Johnson & Wales.
Oh man, that's full circle.
I actually was remember back when we went to school, it was called The Apprentice, which is the side restaurant.
Yes.
I walked in and sat down in the Dean Robert Norgrad restaurant.
Yeah, that's what it was called, Norgrad. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they changed it to Norgrad.
I took a knife cutting skills class from him, and he got into my psyche about how to hold a knife and use it, and it was just an amazing. I think it was like 4 or 5 hours of him, and he was an amazing man. And that was my one day with him. Like, and there was other people in there, but he was something else.
Did you ever know the backstory with Robert Norgrad?
I know that he told me, or told the class, that he was in a concentration camp, and the reason why he survived is because he would work in the kitchen, and that's how he ate. It was because he worked in the kitchen. He was a kid, and he got lucky, and so he always never wanted to leave the comfort of the kitchen after that. And what's
really ironic is Staravaji, who, at the time spoke 11 different languages, the pastry chef, he was on my left, and we were in quantitative. And when you're in the weekend program, you're not doing quantitative because at the start of it, there was only 250 of us. Now, by the time I was in that class, I think there was only about 45. So Dean Norgrad sits next to me, Staravaji is across from me, and another student's across from me. And I'm like, shit, I can't say a fucking word in any language right now because they're all here and they speak all these different languages. And I never knew Dean Norgrad for anything. And I looked at him, I said, so the chef, how did you become a chef? And he told the story. Me being Jewish, it was like right to home. And he's like, and he laughed. He goes, the only people that ate in Auschwitz. So he not was just in one, he was in the one. He was in Auschwitz. And he said, the only people that ate were in the kitchen, and I ate. And, just from that, I had so much more respect for the man. Not only that, but being one of the first master chefs in the United States for the American Culinary Federation. I mean, that speaks volumes for what this man did for our industry. And you never know. I was just talking to a buddy of mine who's just putting a book out, and I'm actually going to be featured in one of the books.
Oh, wow.
He was like, be the legacy, don't be the currency.
That's so smart.
That is so poetic that, here we are, the two of us shooting the shit after the line and talking about Dean Norgrad and what this kind of person is and what we look back and reflect. And, when I went to school, I'm like, I want to be like him because this guy, he not only does he know his stuff and he's a master chef, but he has a sense of humor about the most demonic place in history that I have never, growing up, especially in Miami or North Cuba, growing up in North Cuba, you have this, we have a bloodline. I've had relatives that passed. I did have relatives that had passed in the Holocaust. And you have this racism that attacks people of our race, if you want to call it, our religion. But to have somebody bring such a side of humor and such humanity to that vicious, demonic thing, it's just amazing to me. And that's the most respect I can give any person in this world. And may he rest his soul.
Yeah, no, rest his soul for sure. And I think you totally nailed it. There's something I've noticed that with people that work in this business long enough or for a long time, or it's their calling, there is a very dark swipe through us from a sense of humor standpoint most of the time. I don't know if the industry brings it out in us, if it polishes it up, but there's a lot of us that probably find certain things funny that others kind of like go, is that supposed to be funny? And he was just a nut. I mean, I only met the guy once, and I'll never forget the day. I can still remember. I mean, he was in his 60s or 70s or whatever. I don't even know how old he was when I met him. And he left a huge impression. This was what, 99? 99? 99.
Oh, so he was actually older. So 4 years older. He was probably when I met him in his late 70s. So when you met him, he was in his early 80s. And
as fast as lightning. Like, he was just so quick. And I don't know how many guys, I don't know how many people are left in the industry quite like that, that have come up through the ranks of the hard knocks like that.
I would have to I don't think anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
hard knocks came up that way. I think that each person has, each individual has their own story of what they've gone through. I think John Foles is another one that I just look at. Chef Foles is just an amazing individual. We had the distinct honor, the Palm Beach Chefs Association, when I was inducted to be the president. We had him there, and this guy's 67, 60. Now he's probably 69. He was a national president of the American Culinary Federation, and that's a big thing to do nationally. Mm-hmm. But then he's like, well, I started out, I had a restaurant, then I had a second restaurant, and then I did this, and I did this, and I did this. And my VP number 2 is next to me, and we both got sworn in that day. And he's like, yeah, now I own a manufacturing company and I do this. I own my own publishing company. So I help striving chefs to do books. And I'm listening to this and I folded my arms back and I went like this and I went, we have nothing to complain about being tired. This man is 69 and he's probably run a 50,000 K better than you.
Yeah, that I can't believe you brought up Foltz. He's the reason why I was going to go to. He wrote the structure for Thibodeau State's college culinary program, and it was the only program that I had found that had a bachelor's degree program. So I was from Tallahassee, left family in New Orleans, so naturally I'll just go to culinary school in Thibodeau, right?
Right. He actually has a school.
Yeah, Nicholls State College.
Yeah.
And the program to get into the culinary program was no joke. I had to take like Chem 1 and 2 for science majors, accounting 1 and 2 for business majors, and I was bombing Chem 2 like nobody's business. I had to hire a tutor, and why are you taking this class? You're kind of stupid, you know? And I'm like, I have to.
Yes, yeah.
He's like, why are you trying to? You need this for culinary school? It was a very. I didn't end up going, obviously. Now, you've mentioned it. You've thrown it around quite a bit. ACF. How long have you been involved in all of the positions you've had? Like, you were president of the Palm Beach, and I mean, when we met, I don't think you were the president at all. I think you were just at an ACF convention.
Well, we were there because U.S. Foods, my previous employer, was sponsoring. I've been an active member since '94.
That's awesome. That's probably the one thing I've messed up and did not do. I don't know why. I was always.
You can do it today.
I know. Yeah, this is the pitch, right? I think.
Oh no, I'm not going to pitch it. I'm just going to tell you, it's $230 of your life.
Well, I set it up at Churchill. I made it a training facility and had an old buddy of mine was. Billy, he was the president of the Kentucky chapter or the Louisville chapter, and there's still some guys that I associate with that are in it, and I always kind of go, maybe it's time to start that back up. Well, when center opens, that's the goal, right? Bacon Cartel. So we have ACF, the president, and are you the treasurer? I know that you just got.
I just got nominated to be the treasurer of the national convention. Yes.
So
they could not pronounce the name, and I was telling you in the pre-show, they were trying to get out, and they were finally like, one of the guys is like, "Are you trying to say this person, or are you trying to say Chef Jeffery Schlissel?" And I came on, and I'm like, yeah, I think he means me because I'm still going through therapy for it. Speech impediment. I'm trying to learn how to say it right.
Sooner or later,
I did it to when I became a food fanatic for U.S. Foods. John Byrne, who's the original food fanatic, I just left there after a little over 8 years, which was really heartfelt. They sent me a video on Zoom. There's like 9 or 10 of them, and John gets on. He goes, "Whistle sounds like Schlissel," because that's how I tell people to pronounce the name.
That's exactly what you told me.
Right, and he got on stage and he goes, "So up next is rhymes with whistle, Schlissel," and I'm like, "Why would you do that?" But he admitted, and it worked out, and so he knows how to enunciate my name now.
He knows how to say it. So you started, I mean, U.S. Foods, that's kind of how we met, and that's probably why we keep in touch as much as we do, because they took really good care of us when we opened the Honda Center out here, and the chefs that worked for them, I know that a lot of them are waiting to go back, and hopefully soon. We'll see what this COVID does, but Bacon Cartel, you're, as a Jewish man from North Cuba, aka North Miami, and there's a pig tattooed on your arm and a cow, and you run the Bacon Cartel, where you do so much different stuff with pork and bacon. When did this start?
My mom gave me bacon very young. It was funny. I sound horrible when I say that, but it is funny. So my dad passes away 2 years ago, and it's raining outside. We pull up to the this is so funny. This is the atypical me. So we pull up to the funeral home. I'm wearing your shirt, this right here, okay, underneath a rain jacket. We're all in the room, and it's my dad's oldest sister, my mom, my mom's sister, and like my sister and like two other people, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, can they lower the air? I'm schwitzing. This is like, I'm like a Jew eating pork in temple. Why do they do this to me? So I go to take off the jacket. And I go, hey, Ma. She goes, what? I go, watch this. And I'm like, fat guy in a little coat. She goes, oy vey, are you wearing a short sleeve shirt? I go, yes. So I take the jacket off. Here's this. Here's this. The rabbi walks in. He goes, oh, some do, some don't. I look at him and I go, listen, I know you're a closet bacon eater. I'm out in the open. This is my dad's funeral. So
that's, I mean, I think summed your personality up in a quick story. Like,
yeah,
some do, some don't.
Ones. Yeah. Besides North Carolina was the worst part. So they put me on stage, and there was a plant-based article done in the Food Fanatic magazine, and one of the people I consulted with and collaborated with, Jade Mason, who owns Veg Out Eats, or Veg Eats, the corporation's name is Veg Outs. She was like, I walked in there, I was trying to do like a good consultation. She's like, chef, here, take these brats and get them out of my restaurant. I don't want to have them. They weren't like meat-based, they were plant-based brats from Beyond. And I'm like, well, hold on. So I back up. I'm like, let's see what you got here. And I stand over and I'm like, let's come up with this bao mai. And we did like a dulcel that was vegan pate. We did a dulcel also. So we had a vegan pate made out of mushrooms, dulcel with like all these different ingredients, and then the brat and the pickled vegetables and the bao mai. It's their number one seller to this day. It's still on the menu, and the number one seller. So we do this article, and they go, hey, you need to be on stage. You're doing plant-based. I go, in North Carolina, in Charlotte? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what the fuck are you on? And you need to share. And so I go on stage, and I'm looking around, and I'm not kidding you. There is no, and people, I'm sorry, if whoever's watching this, if you're in North Carolina, I'm not lumping all of you, but you mountain motherfuckers, let me just tell you right now, when you walk in with overalls and orange shirts, it's just, you are the people in Walmart. I'm just kidding. I'm just totally telling you right now. So I look out and I go, how the hell am I going to get these people involved in this whole topic of plant-based? And the first thing I do, I go, well, do you see these? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, these are plant-based. This isn't. And that's how it opened up.
That's a great, what? I knew I was going to love having you on here. I mean, like, you're just running through with the flamethrower on your back, and you're just lighting everything up. I love it. Yeah, I mean, you do not, I mean, you were doing some stuff on, I think somebody on your last post, you had all your stuff that you're working on for your menu, because I know a lot of people don't know, but so you're no longer with US Foods. You're still crushing it with the Bacon Cartel, aka you're the Kingpin. You're getting going on, and you are going to open a restaurant. So you posted some of the stuff that you're putting out, and like I think the third comment in was like, are you going to do some of those plant-based dishes you did last week? And I'm like, wow. I mean, guy's got a cow and a pig tattooed on his arm, but he still crushes vegan dishes. So that says a lot about your talent and how much you really just care about everything that's food, and you don't cut any corners. Has it always been about the food for you?
Definitely. I mean, you hear about guys that we kind of look up to, and when I was a kid, I think I looked up more to Grand Cure than anyone else. Just something about the English wit. I don't know what it was. The Galloping Gourmet.
The Galloping Gourmet. Yeah.
Yeah. I really kind of like just gravitated to his sense of humor. I've always been the type of person that I ask the question why, and how can I push the envelope to the next level? How can we break what we see, or call it the matrix? How can we bend things to be different? One of the greatest things with the current little endeavor I'm going on is we wanted to do something that was structured to be gastropub, but we wanted to appeal to people that have dietary needs like keto, we wanted to do 20-piece menu. That's it. We didn't want to do anything bigger than that. And I know we talked about this. There's no way I'm doing fucking soups in Florida.
So when I come down there, I'm not gonna have soup on the menu. You just can't.
No, and why don't you have soups? What we just talked about it. Tell the story. You tell your story.
You can't make it hot enough. There's nothing that you can do to make the soup hot enough, and it really starts, I think, about 20 miles past Ocala. Then the soup can't be hot enough. Now that's a Florida reference for anybody who's Florida. It's like,
and the worst part is, like you said, you put the thing in, you heat it up, it comes to a boil, the steam's coming out of it, you drop it in, it's not hot enough. You put it in a microwave for 4.5 minutes.
Dude, that is my story.
Like witches are like want to go, oh, you know, like and you know that's hot.
It cooked the soup on the side of the bowl. There was this one restaurant. I was like, fine. I thought I had it hot enough out of the saute pan, and then I was like, I'm just going to put it in the microwave for 4 minutes and just see what happens. And it's like, this is great. Thank you for melting my face. And I'm like, how do you eat that? It's 92 degrees outside. We're in South Florida. I don't understand. It's just like, yeah, no soups. Not even a gazpacho.
It's a wet heat.
Oh, yeah. No. You're swimming in it. So you mentioned Graham Kerr. Any other cooking shows that you watched coming up, or do you watch any now?
You know, it's funny. It's one of those things. I love. It's Netflix. I love Feed Phil, or I'll have what Phil's having. Phil Rosenthal from the Everyone Loves Raymond.
Oh, okay.
His adventures are just amazing. I just recently, as you know, I've been on some fantastic voyages with the ACF. One of the best ones I just did recently, back in April when we were all furlonged. The ACF reached out to me, and I was on a panel for people that want to talk about suicide, which is a huge thing for me.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, one of those things for me is having met Bourdain, dealt with Bourdain. I just recently got myself to come back to watch Bourdain.
Oh, okay.
One of the greatest storytellers of our lives. I didn't watch, excuse me, I didn't watch the last season because of his death and what it meant for me. Like I said, it was pretty powerful. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
I have not watched. I can't watch his stuff. I can and I can't. Because for me, he was okay. Kitchen Confidential. Everybody talks about it, but it was like right at the moment when it blew up. It was one of the waves that I was riding, as a young cook, and it really spoke to me, and it was everything I was seeing, and it was amazing, right? And then I felt like as he grew, he left the chefdom and never even made excuses about it. He's like, well, I don't cook anymore. I'm a host. I got the shows, and I'm traveling, and he had transcended out of, the guy that was working in a bistro. And when I heard the news, it was pretty shattering. It was definitely shattering because he was kind of like one of those guys, but he felt so he felt distant to me because it was the book, and it was that young guy that you saw wearing a black leather jacket on Oprah that I remembered so much. And then he became like this, BJJ, like wrestling, like he worked out every day of the week that he could, and he planned it. He was special. And when people like that leave us sooner than they should, it always leaves a mark. And I think you did such a good job talking about suicide and being aware of it and just reaching out and talking to people. Could you just give us a little background on this, because you wrote a paper. I've seen some of your videos that you did at ACF, and you're just speaking the truth, and I just love for you to share that for this platform.
Yeah, and it's really it's one of those things. It's a soapbox for me, and that's the only way to put it. But it's a big soapbox because when I was 18 years old, my father pretty much said I was going to count for nothing, that I was going to achieve nothing. I wasn't the best student in high school. Didn't really want to go to college. I did graduate number 2 in my class, magna cum laude in Johnson & Wales, which is a huge honor. Never missed a day. I loved what I did at school. excelled at it, not because of my father, I did it for myself. But being 18 and trying to complete suicide, the only thing that stopped me from doing it was knowing the recourses. I would have killed my grandfather. He was recovering from cancer surgery at that time and some other things. So I've always had that mark of suicide on me. And recently I just got this phoenix tattoo to symbolize being reborn from the ashes, because there's so many of us. And after we did the Palm Beach one, and then ACF did one in June, April, like I said, we did one last year, July 1st, in honor of Chef Bourdain's passing, trying to bring the subject to suicide, because our industry it always fluctuates between 1, 2, and 3, between dentists and cops. And it's a really sad statistic to be a part of, right? You don't want to be 1, 2, or 3, especially you don't want to be 1 in suicide. You don't want to be something like negative. But I really believe in trying to help. If I can save one life, then I've saved that one life, then I'm fine. So last year we did the family meal, which as we all know, we all come together in the restaurant, and it's the only time that we sit down and we eat the family meal, and we kind of like prison, we eat real quick and we talk about things. And that's kind of like the impression that Bourdain gave me with what he did in his CNN, right? He brought President Obama out. I always remember I was on a flight and somebody was like, "You're so passionate. You should do this show like that guy that just passed." And I mentioned somebody else, not even thinking of Bourdain's name. And the guy's like, "No, the guy that travels around and eats weird things." I'm like, "Andrew Zimmern? He didn't pass. He's still alive." He's like, "No, that guy." And I'm like, "Anthony Bourdain?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Dude, no. There's only been one Bourdain. There will never be another Bourdain."
Yeah.
He was the best culinary storyteller we can ever have in our entire life. And I want to continue that legacy, because, in his death, as sad as it was, here's a guy that we all looked up to, and we all knew he was going to commit suicide, complete suicide. We all knew it, because he always said, "I'm never going to live past X," and he didn't.
No, he didn't.
For that, and that's his demons. But I think to have somebody so brilliant in telling our story the way it really is so beneficial for us, that we need to continue that legacy of helping one person. And like I said, with Palm Beach Chefs Association, I had Art Letta, who's one of the Impossible corporate chefs. He had a really dark place that he went to back in December 2 years ago, and he tried to complete suicide. So I had him do a video. And then I had somebody who's a chairperson of the American Suicide Prevention, and he talked too. So we had 90, almost 100 members. We have 180, almost 200 members. So I had 100 members at that particular location. Jonathan Landing, Chef Waters did a phenomenal barbecue demo. And we saved one kid's life that night. And I walked away going, we saved one kid's life. And we won. That one life that we saved, we won.
That's awesome. There are so many, how do I put this? There are so many people that are in the industry that struggle with something or many things. And and our personalities tend to not focus on those things, and just we like, that's probably why we're drawn to that restaurant industry and thing, right? It's because it's so busy, and then you show up to work, you kind of love it, it's fun, and the days fly by, and then you don't really have to pay attention to all the stuff that you're morphing or pushing down. And then guess what? As soon as the rush is over, the adrenaline's gone, here come the drinks, here come whatever, and he's having a party, and then you get up the next morning, you get to do it again. So it's like this constant party. I mean, I think it's changed a bit now, because there's a movement of no more shift drinks and all this stuff. But for the generation that, I know, I've read a lot of articles, because it would come up, because one of my shows is called Shift Drink, and I'm like, hey, let's have a beer and talk, because for me, Shift Drink was that moment where no matter how you messed up on the line and how much you got to talk about it and work through it, and everybody was like, that's fine, don't worry about it, let's just have a good time. And we have this thing that we don't talk about as that struggle, and it's like 1, 2, and 3, you're right, and it's definitely a group that you want to win. And to save one person by telling your story, because if you that's amazing. It's amazing that you guys did it. I love it.
I'll be quite honest with you. So we're at the national level with ACF, and there's 5 panelists. There's the nutritionalist, what was it, running nutritionalist. She was on it. There was another chef, and there's Chef Keith Sarzan was on it. Good friend of mine. That's whose book I'm actually going to be featured in. One of the books I'm going to be featured in. And one of the people in the background, the comment popped up in Zoom. And since we were co-hosts, we could see what was coming in. And it was anonymous. And somebody said, has any of the panelists tried to complete suicide? And Jackie Pessinger, who's the mediator, who's also from the national office, said, Chef, there's a question that came in. Who will like take this? Is any of the panelists? And I go, me. I want to tell my story. And I'm 49 years old. I lost my shit. I lost complete composure. I've never done that. We're trained. My previous job trained us on how to do interviewing, and we went through some really stringent ways to interview and how we counter talk and so on and so forth. I lost my shit. That's the best way to put it.
That's probably because you're speaking from the heart.
Well, I really was. And Keith got up and spoke next, and he said, what you just witnessed, I literally took about a good long 5 minutes to compose myself, because that was my story, you know. And I haven't cried about it. I'm not feeling the way like that back then, just, you know, in March. But it was, for me, it was like if I felt for that person. I needed to express myself. So Keith came up and he said, you know, you witnessed raw emotion. There's nothing like it. And that's whose book I'm actually going to be featuring. He's coming out soon.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he was doing a book. Cool.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm in the process of writing my own.
Well, it's not even, I'm not surprised at all. That's really awesome.
Well, wait, it's about plant-based.
Yeah, 100%. It's all plant-based stuff that tastes like bacon. I mean, when you speak, you don't mess around and you cut through the BS, and I think I love it. And when you get to say that, as long as we just save one, or then that one becomes 2, and then 3, and then 4, and you get to tell your story, not only is it cathartic for you, and it allows you to maybe change someone's perspective. Oh, well, they've been through or they can associate with it. I think it's so freaking important. And that's another reason why I thought it would be great to have you on, to just kind of give you the opportunity to share it with everybody, because we'll put this out on all our stuff. And thank you for going down that road a little bit and letting people know that we've all, not we all, you've been there, you understand it, and how you overcame it.
If I'm still here, it means anybody can still be here. If I can, there's a really great life coach out there. Recently, I've been seeing him, and he popped up on Facebook, and he survived falling off the Golden Gate Bridge, and I don't remember the percentage at the time. But to fall from the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and survive, God, the universe, or whatever you believe in, left that person here to speak their mind. And I kind of fall in the same realm of things. I'm a chef. Our industry's hard. We work hard. We really play hard. But at the end of the day, this is what our life's about. And I think the biggest thing I've heard from some really impressive chefs in my life right now is, and especially with the endeavor I'm about to go on, is take time for yourself. You know, remember legacy, not currency.
Legacy, not currency. And I mean, to touch on such a deep topic, how do you find peace mentally now? Yes, you've mentioned it. We work hard, we play hard. I was always envious of those that seemed to have it all together, that didn't play as hard as I did to kind of escape. And I always wondered, do they have it all figured out? But because I've always been restless. I've always struggled with that just being and taking time. I was just like, currency. That's all. I'm just going to, if you need this, I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to be that next. You're all, you know, I went currency full bore. And
right.
I burned out. I made a lot of that cost. It costs more than just what they tell you about. You know what I mean? There's things that you get, but it's like when Jaden got on here to set up the audio and make sure the video is right for us. You're like, holy shit, dude, you grew up on me. And, you know, you've seen him once in 4 years, I think maybe, and you're like, hey, how fast did you grow? So how do you find it mentally with everything that you've gone through recently and in the past? Where do you find it?
You know, part of the decision with my family to jump back into the industry, being in a quote unquote secure job, which was not secure at any point. I mean, I was furloughed. I call it furlonged.
Yeah, I heard that earlier. So, furlonged.
Yeah. I was furlonged. As you know, because you follow, I do some podcasts too, and I do a lot of live shots. But being furlonged is as long as I was from March 17th to like midway June. The reason why I started doing the podcast was for my mental stability and my family's. Part of the decision was my daughter's a little bit more mature. She's not 4, she's 7. Part of it was because I want to leave my daughter a legacy. Part of it was I can buy in and be a partner to the restaurant. And it was time. You know, when I put my 2 weeks notice in, it really sent a shockwave through the program, the Food Tonight program. Yeah. And part of that program is like, I've got some really, really, really dear friends that I can really rely upon. And not one of them, by the way, because I talked to a friend today and was like, why are you opening a restaurant during a pandemic? Are you, hold on, because I just heard little feet walk up.
Are you fucking crazy?
Are you fucking crazy? And I've never heard it. And I said to them, it's 100%, without a doubt. People that were naysayers before in my life, sorry, Mom, sorry, Joanne, my sister, they weren't even naysayers. So I just felt the right time, the right place. Call me opportunistic. It's the right time to do it. I believe in the industry. I think if you now approach it moving forward, being COVID ready and whatever that next COVID is, I think it's a great opportunity. And I really believe in that, because we don't have to have certain things that we do. We don't have to have structure. I'm not in a position, as we just talked about this earlier, I'm not in the position that I have to pivot, which I hate that fucking word.
I was just talking about that on my last show, like a pivot. You're pivoting, and pivot. And like the new normal and pivot, right? Those are the ones that are.
I don't want to hear ever again.
Leader shift.
Here's the thing. I'm going into this business now knowing 100% what we're up against as a restaurant.
Yes.
We're not a 200-seat restaurant where I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to make up 100 seats of business, because that's what you have to do, right? Virtually. What I'm doing is we have 60 seats, and all I have to do is make up 30. It's 30. It's not a big number.
No.
But if I do at the same point in time start a gastropub with a physical location mixed with a, I don't know, Korean barbecue out the back door, quote unquote, where it's a ghost kitchen, how much is my revenue now worth? And that's kind of where the brain thought went with what we were doing. Jason Ramos and myself, when we met, was like, what are we going to do? What's your plan B? Let's say Palm Beach, because it's a red state, especially where I live.
Yes.
How do you pivot? I hate that word. And they close you down. What are we going to do? How are we going to make money? I'm not going to leave a very secure job over here that's making X to come over to you. What are you going to give me? Things lined up, the stars, the moon, whatever. It lined up, and here we are, and we're about 2 weeks out to do something fantastic, which is really cool.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to talk. I'm surprised you're not there right now working.
We've been dubbing, and we're getting ready. We have a fire inspection. That's pretty much all we need. What's stopping us now is we need the right equipment in the lineup, right? Imagine that. There's the line. We need the right equipment on the line when we bought the restaurant, when Jason brought the restaurant. There were certain equipment that was there that really wasn't there before. So we're trying to kind of like get that locked and loaded to fit the menu we did now. And one of the things we put on my card that Jason loved, on one of my taglines, was the mad scientist. And in 2012, when I worked for a local restaurant conglomerate, Carmine's Ocean Grill, Carmine's La Torreta, CG Burger, all these different restaurants that Carmine owned, I was his corporate chef, and we decided to, change concepts, move to different ways. And then I went to US Foods, but that's besides the point. But what we did was, working with him, it taught me how to kind of really develop into that, what I need to do for myself. Like when I took the position and Jason was like, yeah, I want you to come on board, I started writing it like a customer. Okay, we need to do this, we need to do this. And I was like, wait a minute. This is Jeff's menu. So it's the first time in my life that I really have believed in the menu, and I believed in myself, and I believed in what we're doing, because it's collaboration. So when I worked for Carmine, we were reviewed, and one of the people that reviewed us said there must be a mad scientist. And so that was my tagline. So Jason I'm like, I want to play with this tagline, mad scientist. So we were doing the business cards, and I get my business card in, and it says, my name, Jeffery Schlissel, mad scientist. I approve.
That is, well, I mean, you're always twisting it up a little bit, and you're always like trying to figure out how to do something different, and you try to stay true to the original homage. I mean, I like you obsess about your buddy's biscuits and making really good bacon, because I always see you comment on the biscuits. I think that the simple love for something so simple, and being a mad scientist, and the belief, because what happens is that everybody wants to write their menu, and it has to be my food, and then you get into the real situation of it, and you're at Carmine's, and he's like, where's our chicken piccata? We need piccata on the menu. If we don't have the chicken piccata for 16 with the sides, it's the big night. You don't realize it, and now I know you hate the word, but you have taken a very hard pivot. And let's not use the word pivot. You've drawn a line in the sand, and you said, okay, because you have one or two options. You change or you die, right? And you're like, okay, I've been furlonged long enough. It's time for me to be in charge, and there's an opportunity for me to do what I have been wanting and working on, whether I knew it or not, for a very long time. And when you I watched you just scratch that out and say, no, this is Jeffrey's menu. That's why I think you probably are jumping out of bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, run into the place, and then having to be pulled out of there because you truly believe in it. And that's when nothing else really matters. And that's when you're actually living the legacy, not the currency, because you believe in it. So that's very inspirational for me to hear. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying this episode. If you want to keep up with any sales or new merch drops that we have going on, you should sign up for our newsletter. You can do that at our website, extremeculinaryoutfitters.com. And if you like the gear I'm wearing, you can buy some of it there too. And until next time, guys, cheers. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, and one of the things that Keith really does for me, he keeps me balanced, and Frankie Ruiz, mentorship is something I'm huge on. And to hear when I said earlier about the U.S. foods, and there was like 9 or 10 of them, and they were sitting on there, and hear Frankie be the last person who said, "You were my mentor. You really, when I met you, you treated me like, and you treated me like one of your own. You pulled me in." It was like a live eulogy, right? I died U.S. foods, but I was, not died literally. It was really that legacy for me kind of like hit the home nail on the head, that I was doing the right thing, that I was doing what I needed to do as a chef, because one of the things that Jason and I talk about is like this collaboration. It was always about collab. We almost named the restaurant Collab Gastropub, because it was all about collaborating with the businesses around us, collaborating. Like what I want to do, and the vision that we have is get this one started, get it where it needs to rock and roll 4 times. It's going to switch the menu. It's going to be seasonality. It's going to be really sharp. It's going to be cutting edge. It's going to push that envelope for the Arabian cuisine, because that's who I am. And then we're off to the next one, and then we're off to the next one, and we're off to the next one. Because again, it goes back to the legacy, and the legacy is Bacon Bits, my daughter, who's 7 now. That's one of the reasons why I started that side hustle. That side hustle became the Bacon Cartel. That's the collaboration. If you go to our website, really senseless plug, www.localgastropub.com.
We are going, just so you know, I'm going to not just senseless plug you, but we're going to put all of your links, Bacon Cartel, schlisselthewhistle.com, whatever you got, baby, it's going to be on there. But you just did your logo, the Local Gastropub. It's going to be open in 2 weeks. And I mean, this is just the beginning. And I remember watching you at the ACF convention just try on everything that we had. You picked out 4 different hats, put them back, set them aside, come back to try it again. You like the way this looks? This is going to be... You are 1,000% always going 100 miles an hour. You're in it. If you're in it, you're pushing it every direction. You're like a ball of energy. I love that you're the Kingpin, and you got Bacon Bits, your daughter. You do a lot. With as much energy as you have, I constantly see you spending time with your daughter and doing things with the kids. And I have to say that my hat goes off to you for that, or my toque, because for sure that's one thing that I completely missed as the kids. Things didn't start to change for me. That first 16 years was a little rough, and now that we've come out here and they're a little bit older and the job's different and I'm not traveling, and it's just a different mindset, a different life, and I think that it's been good. But you've always made time for the family, even with the travel, and that's just... You're one of those guys that I look at and I go, man, we might not talk a lot, but I'm always kind of over there. I guess I'm spying on you. I'm stalking you, but I have a lot of admiration. You definitely, you posting all the stuff with the kid, with her, makes me look up to you and like go, that's something I need to do more of. So I mean, that's... But
it's funny. I appreciate that, but what's really funny is I treat her as an adult. That's
probably why she's 7.
Right.
But she's really 4?
I was doing the one the other day. She was like hiding. No, she's really 7. But she was hiding behind me and she was doing something. I was doing the video. So it was like, my daughter's really going to be pissed at me. I don't give a shit. I mean, that's what it's all about, man.
You keep it real. Keep it 100% real.
I think we need to do that. I think as human beings, as chefs, I think we need to do that. I mean, we need to tell our stories.
Yeah, I think I took myself way too seriously, and I got lost up in that pretty hardcore. Now, I was talking to a chef today, and he's out of Myrtle Beach. He's a great guy, and he does hot blocks. He does like cutting boards and stuff, and that's his side hustle. And he also runs a restaurant called Scotori's. Do you know?
It's not Chris Davely.
No, it's a guy named Kevin Levine, and we were just chatting, and we're gonna try to do some stuff. Hopefully, keep him busy. And I don't even know what my point was. I think it was just that he was like, if you don't, he was saying that I needed to take a break because I was working. He runs his restaurant and he's the guy that's cooking. Like if he goes live on Instagram, the 30 minutes of him just prepping, like he's making the pizza dough, he's making the garlic knots, he's making everything, and he's there all the time, and he's making cutting boards, and he's shipping them, right? So he's like, I had to take a good 8-month off and really kind of reset because I wasn't having fun anymore. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. Like, I need to focus on making sure that it's fun. It doesn't always have to be the grind. And I think you have a lot of fun. You have that personality of fun.
Well, and I think we have to, because we, like I said earlier, we work hard, we play hard, and I think at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing we need to realize, we're not neurosurgeons. We don't have a brain aneurysm that we're working on. We're trying to clamp all that stuff down.
No,
I remember working. I remember working for a private couple. The husband happened to be a plastic surgeon, and I have this beautiful sushi grade tuna loin. And I'm filleting it, taking off, and gently taking the skin off, and getting the belly fat and all that. Do something different over here, and the eye over here. And he looks at me, he goes, I'm just flicking the knife as I'm going in. And he looks at me and he goes, "Wow, my God, you can work with me." I go, "Here's the difference, doc." He's like, "What?" I go, "This is dead. Your patient's not. If this works on it, it is."
Yeah, we're only gonna have one outcome. Speaking of killing things, let me ask you one question of your biggest kitchen failure or your biggest mistake that you learned the most from.
Oh God, I wouldn't even begin to even think to know. I think the biggest kitchen mistake you could do is not own up.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think,
avoid it.
To be honest with you, I think really we tended to hide behind our weakness. I think we need to embrace our weakness, and I think what we do differently to embrace is embrace it. I think if you don't know how to do something and you fear it, I think you need to step up and say, I'm man enough to know that I need help with this. I think that's probably the biggest thing I could do if I look back at my life and say what I should have done, what I could have done. And that's I think another opportunity that is approached me with this local gastropub. By the way, Test Kitchen, Baking Cartel running it. So the test kitchen comes into play where not only are we testing the kitchen, but we're testing the employees. And I think the biggest thing for me, the opportunity is to grow that person who's my next line cook, to be my next sous chef, to be my next executive chef
at
that restaurant, so I can move on. I think mentorship, especially with the ACF, I think that's a huge thing. I'm not a big fan of credentials. I'm not a big fan of the CECs and the different titles that come along with the ACF. Don't get me wrong. I don't want your viewers to think that I'm an ACF whore. I'm not. I believe in the networking abilities that the ACF does, and I put down my being in the dark side of things, which is the sales. You working for US Foods. One of the reasons why I did what I did was I have an opportunity for myself to achieve some bucket lists, and I hope I do achieve it. I have some maybe delusions of grandeur, depending on, my Jewish mother would probably say, you're fucking high. But
a quote, that's a quote of the mom right there. That's...
Right. But I think we all have the goals to keep, and I think one of the biggest things when I made the jump from a semi-secure opportunity with US Foods and jumping to doing something of my own thing and having the ability to do my own thing, It's rewarding. It's really just uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
It's this sense of accomplishment, to do for yourself, but more along the lines of I'm doing this for the legacy of my child, but to fulfill some bucket lists, and hopefully I either get an award for my book or I get an award for my cooking, either or. But those are some of my goals, and
That's
some
so
people
awesome.
might be looking, oh, you're selfish. But I'm not selfish. And I appreciate that. Thank you. It's something that I've always wanted to be one of the first people in the ACF to get a James Beard Award. And the only way I can do that is to open up my own restaurant, or to be the head of a restaurant or kitchen, or write a book. And I felt like,
Yeah.
how can I do this, and how can I achieve it? And I've partnered up with a really fantabulous person. Amelia Levine is helping me co-author my book.
Oh, wow.
It's a big thing. It's called, what I want it to be called is different from what the publishers, so Amelia tells me.
Yeah,
But
probably.
I wanted to be called Caveman to Cucumbers, and on the subtitle it would be called A Mediterranean's Guide to Making Plant-Based Not Suck. It's that gap between.
I think I think you nailed it. I would buy it.
Yeah, right. And what's funny is the menu that what's really cool is I came up with the plant-based, some ideas. I came up with some vegetarian ideas. So I came up with 100 ideas, and I sent it out to about 25 people. And I said, hey, I want you to pick only 20. And the biggest argument I got was like, seriously, only 20? And I was like, yeah, only 20, because I'm not doing more than 20. And the reason why the magic number was 20 is, one, we're going to do a ghost kitchen out of the back, quote unquote, on the back of the kitchen. The other reason why is it's COVID, number one. Number two, I don't feel you can do 50 mediocre as a chef, or do you do 20 exceptional? And as you know, if you pointed out, I want to do exceptional. I want the guests to have an experience. I want the guests to where they have to finish the dish by doing an action, whether it be pouring a sauce over it, whether it being smashing something, whether it being, I got to take the, and you probably saw it. We just posted the deviled egg, Caesar egg.
Yeah.
And that was my salad.
It's perfect.
That's my salad option. It's a deviled egg.
Deviled egg is a salad option. Like it, go order soup somewhere.
Right. So I want to push the envelope.
Well, I mean, you've done it, and I don't think you're selfish. I think you're actually you're pushing yourself to the next level. That's not selfish. That's self-discipline, and a lot of people probably should read into that a little bit. For the people out there,
I think the biggest. On the way, before you go with that question, I think the biggest thing you do, and this is one of my biggest things, is the only person that is in your way is you. And I really learned that this last year when I was furlonged and I did not see this opportunity coming. And you know the story. I went literally 3 months with no money coming into my household. And as a man, forget about being a chef, but as a man, and you don't have income coming in, you feel degraded, you feel worthless, you feel like there's nothing else in the world. And one of the biggest things recently, there was nominations for the chapter again for president, vice president, two, and my secretary. And one of my members came up and suggested I run again, and nominated me, and quoted Bourdain. So kudos to them for quoting Bourdain. Really poetic quote. But they called me every single week, if not maybe 2 weeks, and said, what do you need? And I was like, I don't need anything, bro. I got it. And in the letter he sent out to the membership was, he never asked for help. He never asked for whatever was going on in his family. And I kind of realized at that point that, what am I going to leave for my family? What the legacy is. And it turned back to that. And I said, I need to start something. So I was looking actually at that point in May, I was literally looking to open up a barbecue restaurant. So this came up to be perfect. You know, whether it was going to be this opportunity with a local gastropub or screw it, this is the Bacon Cartel is going to be the man. It's going to be the myth, the legend. There was something going to go happen. And then June came around and I was called back to work. So work a paycheck won out per se.
Yeah, I mean, I would open a barbecue place in a heartbeat. I don't know why I love it so much. But you got the
primordial.
Yeah, the fire, the smoke, the meat. It's a caveman making caveman food.
That's why I have a beard now.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
This is not COVID-19. This is caveman.
This is caveman. Okay. Final question for the audience out there who's listening. As you were coming up, and you get the opportunity to go back and talk to your 20-year-old self that's going through the industry and stuff, what kind of words of advice, because you just nailed it with a great one, what kinds of other words of advice would you tell them just to make it through?
You fuck up, learn from your mistakes, but make your mistakes. I think that's the key, and ask for help. I'm a firm believer in that. I think the industry as a whole, what really sucks sometimes is you work for some really bad assholes, and they treat you like, well, we'll pay you, you jump from job to job because you're seeking, obviously, the paycheck. And some of us seek some different things and so on and so forth, maybe notoriety, or we want to be a top chef or whatever your plan is. But I think, and that's fine, you can be a plan to be a top chef, but realize you need to go to the school of hard knocks and get your ass handed to you a couple nights a week or more. I think, the bottom line is this industry is hard. It's tough, and learn how to deal with it. Find the balance, I think, is the biggest key that I would say to myself back then, is that, kitchen is not your life. A lot of times we forget, and then we integrate, or assimilate is a really good way of putting it. We simulate that family meal and those people that are around us, and they really are. They are our family because they see us more than our family. But to give that time and to find the balance, I was always afraid when I did have a family, and now I do, that I wasn't going to be there to be with my child. And I was fortunate enough to have 7 years with her. And I'm not saying that it's been a bad thing or not. It's just the opportunity now is to take the plunge and believe in myself. And I think that's another thing you need to look at is, really, who's pulling you back? Is it someone or is it you? Question yourself. And then I think lastly is learn as much. And I never did this, thank God. I always wanted a family meal that was based upon somebody in my either was my peers or it was one of my cooks, because I wanted to find out what the passion was. I wanted to find out what their food background was. I wanted to find out what their culture was. I wanted to find out what they wanted to eat, because eventually I wanted to learn from them. And I think that's the key. Learn as much as you can to expose yourself to much as you can.
Man, wow. You just crushed it. Thank you for that. That was awesome. I think you covered pretty much everything.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well. Thank you for coming on and rocking the OG shirt. That's the OG logo right there that you got. Dude, that was like, this is this is the only other shirt I wear besides Bacon Cartel. Yes, thank you for that. And you met Emeril Lagasse in that shirt. I know these things. I know these things.
Should I tell that story really quick?
Yeah, I do need to kind of know, and then we can end on that note for sure. I do need to know how that happened.
All right, so this is really hysterical. So back in 96, 97, I got recruited to work at a place called, this really small place. You probably have never heard of it, P.F. Chang's. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, once or twice I've heard of it.
So I get to go work for them. I get flown out to New Orleans, and they're opening Metairie, Louisiana, or as they say in Louisiana, Metairie, Louisiana, off Veterans Boulevard. in the Veterans Mall, and we go in, and I'm like, holy shit, we're like in New Orleans, and Emerald is like a god to me at that time. So I write back home. I'm like, Mom, send me my, uh, paper I wrote for Emerald, who influenced me to be a chef. Because back then we didn't have cloud, you motherfuckers, millennials.
No.
They're probably all sitting there going, why didn't you just go on the iPhone? We didn't have one. So anyways, my mom sends me the thing, and I get to go in there. And at the time, I think Mauricio still works for him. I handed him the paper I wrote on who influenced me, my mother, and Emerald, who influenced me to become a chef. And he comes down for, I think 2 years later, he comes down to Miami with Norman and Aiken. And not many, I don't know how many people know this, but Norman Van Aiken in Miami, and Emerald Lagasse, and may he rest his soul, Charlie Trotter. So it was like Emerald, Charlie Trotter, and
the triangle,
Norman Van Aiken, which was the main trio.
Yeah.
In Florida, it was different. In Florida, it was always Alan Susser, Mark Minatello, and Norman Van Aiken. Mm-hmm. So Norman's at his restaurant. We're in Noma, right? That's actually what it's called. We were in Coral Gables. I had hit a dog and almost killed it on the way down there.
Oh my God.
And I needed to have a drink. We ended up having a drink. My dad's there, my mom's there, and my ex-wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, were there. And we walk in. Emerald acknowledges me. I know this is a long story. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm loving
Emerald
this.
Acknowledges me. I don't think anything of it. And we walk upstairs. There's Norman on my right and Emerald on my left. And so Emerald goes, "Hey, did you get him rocking?" And I went, "Who?" He's like, "Did you get him rocking?" And in my head, it interpreted, "Hey, asshole, he knows you. He remembers you." And my mom goes, "You remember him?" In the nice Jewish accent, right? "You remember him?" So Emerald goes, "Of course, you and I both did. We got him to be what he is today." And he's like, "Why don't you come around and take a picture?" And I'm like, "Me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So it's Norman, myself, and
oh
Emerald.
My God.
And
oh my God.
They go, the New Mango Trio. And I'm like, holy shit. As a kid, I was probably in my late 20s. Couldn't believe it. Came over to the table, whatever. Fast forward, this is about 3 years ago. US Foods is launching stockyards with the virtual thing. Mm-hmm. And we have this customer appreciation where we're doing 5 customers get to go to South Beach Food and Wine and cook for the Friday event, which is only for people in the biz. So we're there doing that. And so they fly everybody who wins a certain contest, all these salespeople, and they fly in from all over the country. And these dudes that know me from when I met you and I flew out to Phoenix,
okay,
they were there. And they're like, "Man, Chef's a dick." And I look over and go, "Chef?" And they're like, "Yeah, he won't take a picture with Claw." This one guy who had like fucked up his hand or something, one of the salespeople. And he's like, "You won't take a picture with him, but he took a picture with the 2 girls." I'm like, I don't blame them. They've got nice eyebrows. And so he goes, "Well, he won't. He's such a dick." I'm like, "Emerald's not a dick." And they're like,
"No.
You know him?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bullshit." And I'm like, literally like this. Hold my beer. And I walked over, and I had already been set up to meet the sous chef in the Orlando area from US Foods, because that was one of our accounts. Mm-hmm. And I was talking, and I went up and I waited, and the guy who was trying to get the picture with chef goes, "Oh, this is one of our food fanatics, Jeffery Schlissel." And he looks at me and he cocks his head. And I go, "Which one of you is Frank?" I totally ignored chef. I go, "Which one's you, Frank?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm here." So he's at the head of the table to my right. And the sous chef to Emerald's in New Orleans is to my left. And it was right near Universal Studio, Lowe's, right in Miami. And the Emerald's to my across from me. And he goes, "Oh, I'm over here. And oh, yeah, so-and-so told me to meet with you." And he's like, "Oh, wow, this is a small world." And I go, "You have no idea how small this world's going to get for you, chef." And literally on my phone, I pulled up a picture of him from 1997 of actually taking a picture of me at Norman's restaurant, showed his sous chef. He goes, wow, chef got fat. And he goes, don't tell him. And I'm like, I won't. So I go and I flip the phone around and I go like this to Emerald. And he looks, he goes, holy shit. I go, blown away, aren't you? He's like, pretty much. I go, that was me. And he's just like, how have you been? I'm like, yeah. So we caught up real quick and so on and so forth. I'm like, I'm about to blow your mind even more. He's like, okay. And he's like, waiting. I go, yeah, you're a private pilot for your jet you fly around. Yeah, he's my next door neighbor. He's like, what? So this dumbass is going out with a whole bunch of people to potbelly sushi over in Alton Road on South Beach. And I'm like, not even thinking of it. Like one of the buddies, like you and I are sitting there talking like we are now. And I go, chef, want to come along? He's like, I'd love to. This son of a bitch has never been to Joe's, so we got to take him down there. He goes, do me a favor, tell the pub belly group I said hello. I'm like, no problem, but they're gonna miss you more than I'm gonna miss you.
Then you just left.
Left, and the guy who originally said, well, he's a dick. He looks at me, he's like, and I was like, told you.
Yeah, that's a great story to end on right there. Oh my God, Jeffery Schlissel, like Whistle, you are absolutely amazing for taking an enormous amount of time out of your evening and week to do this. I know that we were supposed to start at 8 o'clock your time, and then went super late, and we didn't start until probably 9. So we've been rocking for a little while, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thank you so much. I cannot say how much fun this is. We'll have to have you back on after you open. You can just give us some updates on what's happening.
I would love to come back on, maybe with Jason or
dude, that
Brian, my bartender.
That would be fantastic, as you guys could say, oh, this is going really well. This is what we had to pivot on. This is our new normal. All things that people would love to hear, because a lot of them are like, how are we getting through this? So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate it. All of your stuff. But before we go, where can we find you? How do we follow you? All of your websites, and then I'll put them up as well in the subject.
No problem. So we have the bacon_cartel on Instagram. We have the Bacon Cartel on Facebook. We have the Bacon Cartel on Twitter. We also have the Local Gastropub. That's spelled Locale Gastropub. That is over all social media on that one in particular. Then you can find us on localgastropub.com. And we look forward to seeing not only you one day. I'd love to have you, by the way, JoJo.
That would be fun.
Guest chef. So that's one of the things that we're going to actually do once we get rocking and COVID is over, whether it be because of political, whether it be because of they actually find a cure, or it was a big political cure. I really want you to come over. I would love to have you as a guest. You can
I would like that.
Casa de Schlissel.
Anytime.
Casa de Schlissel is always open.
Oh, my parents would kill me. They'd be like, you stay up here. You stay us. They're not too far.
They wouldn't be Jewish to you, but they would act Jewish to you.
Yeah, they would be like, no, you can't. They're very Southern. There's not much difference between a Southern hospitality and the Jewish hospitality, because it's really forced on you. It's really forced on you. You're going to stay with us no matter what you do. Oh, you're still hungry.
It's guilt.
Yeah, it's guilt. You're still hungry. Yes. You're going to eat this no matter what. Oh, man. Dude.
Well, you know the difference between Jews and Catholics, right?
No. I'm about to get told, though.
Oh, you are. It's Jesus and pork.
That's it. That's it. I love it. As a Southern Catholic, I'll take that. Jesus and pork. Oh man, that was awesome. Thank you so much, brother.